an analogy I like to use is golf. So I've done some golfing in my life. I'm not a huge golfer, but I've done some golfing. And the thing I've noticed about golf is it's a little white ball and there's this little hole and it's a third of a mile away.
Right.
And it's completely improbable that you can hit this little golf ball into this hole a third of the mile. It's just ridiculous. But you can take someone who's never golfed before, their first hole ever, and they'll swing and they might miss the ball. They'll probably miss the ball. The first time they hit it, it'll go sideways, maybe even backwards. But you give them 10 or 12 or 13 or 14 tries, and they'll end up every time putting that ball in the hole. And it's because they gradually course correct. They hit that first one, and it's way over there, and the second one's way over there. But as they get closer, they course correct. I'm a big fan of baby steps, of just taking that first step, that next step, and then gradually course correcting until you hit the goal. And so for me, it was desperation. Now so many people are interested in impact, and I'm in this game now for impact. That's why I'm here with you. That's why I traveled to be here with you, for impact.
Right.
Because that's what my world's evolved into. But back then it was desperation and needing money.
Yeah.
But I would say from the start, I did have a few things. This internet, this connected world was just starting to happen. This was 1996
Right.
when I first started. And I had some instincts, I think, that served me well, because I think the world really did change with this connected world. And there's some certain words that get tossed around, like integrity and authenticity and congruence, that really, that's what business is largely about now, because everything is so transparent. People can look up your reviews instantly. They can check your social. They can see what you're really delivering to the world. And everything I've done, my entire model of business is built on honest, congruent sharing with people and building value before you ask for the sale. And that was something I think I got that from my parents, really. I think I just got that from my parents, and I carried that into business. And I didn't have anyone to tell me that's not the right way to do business, because I was just figuring it out on my own. In 1996, 1997, there was almost no one doing business online. And so I didn't have anyone to learn from. So I just stumbled into this and gradually evolved it, and here we are today.
You know, I think there are many points you made, but one of them that I think is interesting is like you don't come across as the guy that's going to get hired to be a salesperson in a corporate environment that can go out there and push a product, what have you. But a fundamental principle saying, just build some value before you even ask, is literally the driver, or one of the big drivers behind what you do. And it's almost in that respect, it's almost not sales. I mean, technically, I guess it's sales, but it's not salesmanship, so to speak.
Right.
And that principle applied to the very first launch you did still applies now just as much, or no?
It absolutely, more so now. More so, because there's more transparency now. People can find you, they can see you, they can look at reviews. That stuff didn't exist.
Right.
My first probably 8 years online, there was not even a photo of me online, because we didn't share photos back then.
Right.
But if you would have, at the beginning, and frankly, I went through this. So before I started this, I was like, my original thinking was, we need more money. Mary needs some kind of relief of this pressure of having to support the family and getting up in the dark and coming home in the dark and working so hard. And so I need to make money in some way, so I thought maybe I'll go get a job. And so I went to all these career counseling, and I took these tests to see what you were suited for. And I don't have them anymore, but I guarantee if you looked at them and you looked at this whole spectrum, like of what's the most likely place I'd have success, sales would be like, I'd be in the 0 percentile for sales.
Right.
I have no sales experience. I have no sales instincts.
Right.
And really, I think what I ended up doing is, because I didn't know how to sell, I was uncomfortable with selling. I was uncomfortable with asking for money. Then I ended up overcompensating by building value before I asked for the sale. And lo and behold, it ended up like working really, really well and turning out to be the way the world is tilted that way now.
So it's interesting because it's almost like you turned a weakness into a strength, right?
Yes. absolutely.
Yeah, so it worked for you not to be able to have a very slick sales ability. It's interesting. So, and you sort of answered this question already, but I want to be clear in it. The principles and the idea of doing a launch of a product that is some value that you can create for a particular audience. That ship hasn't sailed. It's not like, if you didn't get in on it at a good time. Today there's people who are still starting from scratch, applying these principles and making them work.
Yeah, I started, that first launch was at the very end of '96. No one knew what I was doing because I just had a few, by that time, thousands of people on my email list. It grew and grew and grew. In 2001, I went to my first marketing conference. I thought everyone was doing this stuff. I shared it with a few people. I started coaching a few people through it in like 2001, 2, 3, and they had success with it. And up till then, I just thought it was working for me. I didn't know if it worked for them in other markets, like writing love letters or how to get traffic to your website, or for airline pilots. And it started to work in other markets. So in 2005, I started teaching it, and people started having success in just about every market with any type of product you could imagine. And really, the results now are bigger than they've ever been. Just a few months ago, we had the biggest launch ever that I know of in our kind of little bootstrapped kind of businesses. That was literally in the many tens of millions of dollars.
Wow.
And
so
thunk.
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't something that is it's fading. It seems like it's actually gaining momentum even more so now. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's more people online. I think than there's ever been, and there's more people coming online. I think there's more people that are buying online. There's more people walking around with their phones. I mean, it wasn't that long ago we didn't have a phone. You had to be on your computer to be online. Now everyone's online all day long, every day. I also think many of my clients are selling what I call wisdom products or training products. Knowledge products, you could call them. And so the whole idea of consuming training online electronically has exploded. The interest in people in furthering themselves, frankly. I think I see a lot more interest in self-education. I think it's become the norm. I think the dollars being spent on self-education are going through the roof. And so the market's growing, the acceptance of buying that online is growing, and people are creating bigger followings faster, and then they're able to sell a lot better and more effectively.
And here's, I think, one of this, call it a special aspect of what you're doing, that's kind of the warmth and humanitarian side, is that, we can talk about, certainly there's some people who are running somewhat scale enterprises that can do, tens of millions of dollars on a launch, but there's also musicians or people that have, teachers that, they don't have much income. They have no big staff or anything around them. And they would look at series like this, wealth breakthroughs, and they would say, I'm not in that position to create a wealth breakthrough for me. And I think it's contextual in many respects. You have that person who said, here's what my passion in life was. I eke out a living. I don't have a lot of disposable income. I know nothing really about investing, and nor do I maybe even have a lot of desire there. But I would like to enhance my financial position. Like for you, a $1,600 launch was a wealth breakthrough, right? I mean,
that was the biggest launch of my life.
Right?
I had a launch that did $1 million in sales in 53 minutes, and the impact of that $1 million, that pales in comparison to the $1,650.
Yeah, and so really poignant is the fact saying the wealth breakthrough doesn't have to be this huge thing. For whoever it is that's watching or that has some type of a passion, it could be something much smaller but extraordinarily meaningful. Thanks so much for being here and watching that video. And can I ask you to please subscribe to our channel so you can find out when we're posting new content. You'll be alerted right away when we do. To share this with people you think might benefit from the information, and certainly it helps us if you like the video. So if you like what you just saw, go ahead and hit that like button. And again, thank you so much for being here with me right now.